Hello, good evening. It is Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021, and we just finished the Power of Veto episode, week 11 here in the Big Brother 23 house as we finish up the Final Four week. I'm Dave Mader, coming to you live, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, as we have been for all the weeks. So you might be listening to us in the audio version, wherever you pick up your audio versions. Welcome here to Super Mader Brothers Podcasting, continuing our coverage. Special guest joining me tonight, Darryl Clarke. Welcome, Darryl. You've been on. I think you were on at least one other podcast this season.
Yeah,
and you and in past seasons. Of course, last night we were participated in the Survivor draft together, as Survivor 41 also premiered tonight. And we are dividing and conquering here. We got Jamil and Jeff over doing the Survivor coverage, and you and I are here talking Big Brother.
Yeah, it's good to be here to talk about this exciting final Power of Veto, or not final, but the deciding for final three.
Well, this is the final veto, right? This was the final veto tonight.
Is it?
Right? Because there won't be a veto in the final three.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, they'll be doing the battles for.
Yeah. And so I do want to talk about the competition tonight, because I thought the competition was a lot of fun, and was kind of exciting. Even though I already knew the result coming in, I knew what was going to happen, but I did find it kind of an interesting watch back. And Darryl, in our Big Brother draft, I had the first pick, you had the second pick, and I just thought to myself, who will Darryl pick? And then I was like, that's who I need to scoop from him. And I was like, it was Xavier that I ended up taking, but you took Kyland at number 2, which was also someone else I was also considering taking at the time. And so yeah, it's been interesting seeing both of these players kind of whittle down here, Batman and Superman themselves. and this was kind of like maybe the downfall of Kyland tonight, like sort of his. So. Yeah, like this was like kind of everything unraveling at once, and him not really dealing with it too well.
Yeah, and just the way when Big D was trying to just get him to confirm, their final 2 and the final 3, the 3 guys, he was just so standoffish and wouldn't confirm anything, which is stupid. Like that's. If anything, that's going to get him voted out right there, just because, there's that. Let me just mute that. There's just that uneasiness for Big D, and like he's the only vote. I'd be telling him anything he wanted to hear if there's any chance that he's going to vote me out. I'd be agreeing to whatever he wanted, just so because you get into the final 3, and once you're in the final 3, you get the. You're battling each other. You do that first battle, and then whoever wins that, then the next 2 have to battle to get to the final battle. So
yeah, exactly. Once you're in the final 3, kind of almost thinking anything can happen. Either you can maybe win outright yourself, or maybe you're just taken along, and who knows what happens then. And so, yeah, just to break down this whole episode tonight, because I was really struggling with Big D in this episode in particular, because, his soul searching and everything else he was going through, especially after his his confrontation with Kyland tonight, where that conversation went sour and their final 2 deal was dead. But Derek not quite ready to completely burn that bridge, I guess, with Kyland at this point. He's still sort of at the end of this episode still debating between Azza and Kyland because they're equal to him. I don't understand how they're equal to him.
Yeah, I don't either. But I think with X, going to be pushing Derek to get rid of Kyland. That's what it looks like. Even though Kyland saved X when he was on the block, and I don't know. And with Azza being, his ride or die so far, that's, I think we can just kiss Kyland goodbye.
Yeah, and I think Mary Bass saying here that she thinks that I think she's talking about Big D, or she might be talking about Kylan. But I think it's. Do you think Derek F has like sort of a delusional viewpoint of himself?
Oh, for sure. I think he's been pulled along by Kylan and X. They've first the cookout, that pulled them all along, but just to get to the final three, I think Big D has some kind of delusion of grandeur that he thinks that he, got there because of the way he played. He got there because Kylan and Xavier, allowed him to come there with them.
Right. And so does that like maybe speak to a little bit of the frustrations we're seeing tonight in this edit with Kylan where, he's talking to Big D and he's like, oh my God, I've been dragging you along in this game, but now you think you have agency or I have to suck up to you. And it's killing Kylan. He doesn't want to, but he doesn't also want to tell him the truth or kind of like, get what did Big D says tonight? He thinks he's some kind of doctor scientist who can talk you out of things, and go from there. Yeah. I think so. And I think that Kylan kind of is right, but he's also like kind of guilty of this thing where because Big D is so clueless and because he can't explain those things to him, he just ends up coming across like a jerk, especially to the casual audience.
And I think that's why he said, I have to stop this conversation because, he would have, maybe exploded. Because, like you said, he is right. Kylan's right. D just coasted along with the cookout, and, Kylan and Xavier are the ones that allowed him to be here with their final three deal. And now, it looks like Kylan's going to be the odd man out, which is great for, Xavier's game. I think that's what he has to do if he wants to win, is get rid of Kylan now while he has a chance. And then I don't think Azza or Big D can beat X in anything.
Yeah, something would have to go pretty catastrophic, I think, for X to lose the final HOH to either of them.
Yeah.
But who knows? Anything can happen, maybe he breaks his foot like Christmas Abbott or something unlikely. But I think that barring something like that, where, just some kind of accident or something along those lines, it's hard to see how X loses this game. Like, especially now, if he can get Kylan out this week, which he's really what we left with this cliffhanger is, Derek F can't decide if he wants to cut Kylan or if he wants to listen to X, and X, I was just like, let me do it. I will do it. If necessary. And I'm kind of thinking from Xavier's standpoint, maybe he should, maybe he can trust Azza to make that call and to just vote out Kylan if he can't trust Big D to do it, or if this is just editing to, string us along.
Yeah, to throw us off, and then at the end, Derek's just gonna get rid of Azza anyway.
Yeah. Because so he had this conversation with Azza tonight, Big D, early on. There was a few conversations, and I kind of just want to touch on them quickly. So the first one was just Big D saying, he was kind of sad he had to cut Azza. He was saying that in the diary room, but then he denies the final three that they made, but he admits that he's made final twos with both Xavier and Kylan. I didn't know he had a final two with Kylan until now. Of course, everyone's got a final two with everybody, in these games. But,
exactly.
So I don't know what they mean, but like the one that he made with Kylan in the bathroom, like way back, it's strange to me that he admits to this to her. He admits that, yes, I did make final twos with both of them. And she's like, well, that's kind of even like a final three. If you have like, he's like, but I didn't connect the triangle, Azza. The triangle's not, it's more of like, it's kind of isosceles.
Yeah. But he did, but he's just not telling her.
Yeah, so it's like he's very selective with his lies he's telling and things he wants to be honest about. I guess as people are, but that just came. She says, "I'm at a loss for words," and he goes, "Well, but it's you and me, Azza. It's always been you and me." And she's like, "It's not us anymore, boo."
Yeah, exactly.
It's you now. And their relationship is so interesting to me. They've been like, they still sleep in the same room, right? Like, they've always slept in that same room that the Jokers used to sleep in. I guess I guess Brittany did when she was still around. And even though Derek F is known as Big Z and lives to snore, Ozza still sleeps in that room with him.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I guess she doesn't. She can sleep through anything if she can sleep through him. That's.
Mary's saying except Ozza, she doesn't have anything. In terms of what though? That's just what I would like to clarify that comment.
Yeah,
but
she did win. She won that Power of Veto, but
and she was doing well in this veto tonight. I was really impressed with Ozza on this seesaw until she fell apart.
Yeah, until that second last one.
Coming on in. Straight out of Survivor coverage. Jeff
Mader, welcome to the show.
Your microphone's
yeah, I'm here. What's up? I'm here. What's going on, guys?
We're just talking.
Oh yeah, that's what Mary Bass is saying, that Ozza doesn't have a final 2 or anything. She's the only one. Well, of course not Ozza.
Fill me in. I missed the episode, so I kind of just fill me in what's going on.
Okay, so Jeff, tonight a lot of conversations, different ways going on. Big D. The episode was really positioning how Big D now has to he's gonna maybe have to make the sole vote, choose between Kyland and Ozza, who were the nominees coming into tonight. And then we also get the veto competition. Which and we talked about this in our last spoilers coverage, but Xavier ends up winning this veto tonight. It was like a seesaw battle where you have to put like the beach balls, or what do they call those, like dodge balls, I guess.
Yeah, with
like
numbered balls. But yeah.
It was like a combination of a day's competition and the seesaw battle with the bouncy balls, and it was kind of fun because Kyland got knocked out of this veto tonight first.
Yeah.
Which I was not expecting. He was pissed that Ozza and Big D had defeated him, or not. He had been knocked out before them, and I was impressed with Big D and Ozza. For two people who they were like in some rounds they were beating X. Ultimately X goes on to win this, but it's I thought that I liked seeing that. And the other thing big tonight, Jeff, was that Kyland. He was in Kai land, as Big D was explaining. He was just kind of getting like upset in his own head, really paranoid, and and blowing up at Big D, kind of getting up in Xavier's face at times, especially after the veto. And it's kind of like and Ozza confronts Xavier in this episode and goes, Kylan wants that whole Batman versus Superman thing, right? What do you want, Xavier? He's like, well, that's interesting, but interesting, not really.
Not really that's what Superman would say. Superman would be like, I don't care about Batman. He can't fly and he's not invincible.
Yeah. Well, who's is X Superman or Batman in this analogy?
X is Superman.
Yeah,
X is Superman.
Yeah.
And Kylan's like Batman.
Kylan's like Batman.
You never know. You don't know what he's on his mind.
Kylan's got more of an ego than
Yeah, and Kyle, I think Jeff, like tonight, Kylan just sort of screwed himself just by Big D, came to him and it was asking him, to confirm their final 2, and basically he was just blowing him off, saying, well, let's wait until after the veto. And it's like, you may not even get the final 3. So why not?
If Kylan got the sole vote to evict here between Ozza and Big D, what would he choose to do?
I think he'd take out Ozza.
He'd take out Ozza even after all this tonight with Big D? Like after sort of these weird...
Because he thinks he can beat anybody. That's the thing.
So wait, I have a couple quick questions, just breakdown, because you guys saw the episode, I didn't. Okay, so X had the opportunity to throw it to either Ozza or Big D anyway, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't. He decided to win it anyway. and then he decides what to put the. Did he put the veto back in the box?
No, they haven't done the veto ceremonies tomorrow.
Oh, okay. They haven't done the veto ceremony yet. Okay. What do you guys anticipate that Xavier will do? Will he put the veto back in the box, or will he put it around someone's neck?
The question here is what? Okay, so right now, Ozza's technically on the block, right? And he wants Kylan to go. So the question is, who can he trust to evict Kylan? Is it Ozza or is it Big D?
I think it's Ozza.
I think so too.
I think so too.
I think Big D is. You can't trust that guy to throw a rock off a pier. You know, like I just don't think that's doable.
Yeah, so his best bet would be to use it on Ozza and then have her take out, because she's not going to take out Big D. You know, she'll take out, the guy that she, hasn't liked the whole time.
Right.
So,
right.
Kyle be gone.
If we go way back in time, back to Ozza and Kylan. If I can, is it Kylan and Ozza?
But ultimately, like you guys posed a question there, but what does Xavier want? Because obviously, okay, the other argument here, guys, is if you go to the final three and you don't win, which happens a lot, by the way, when the favorite person, whatever of the season, Vanessa Russo, Derek Levasseur, whatever, they get to the end of the final three competition and they lose, and they have to rely on somebody else to take them to the end. Now, if you're Xavier, you want, no matter what, that person to take you to the end. Right. And so who will definitely take Xavier to the end out of the three people? I think Kylan would, which is kind of, then why get rid of him? If you feel like you can beat Kylan, why get rid of him?
Because he's also thinking about the final two, and can he guarantee that he'll win those jury votes over Kylan?
I mean,
and not just that, he thinks he can beat Ozza and Big D, no problem. So then it'll be him selecting who comes with him to the final two.
Yeah, but that's a cocky way to look at it, because
that's X.
I mean, yes, it is X, and it would be definitely fitting. But this is how you kind of get burned, because if Ozza wins, like for instance, let's just play hypothetical. Say she wins the final, part 3, and wins the decision to pick Big D or X. She's gonna take Big D.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So that for that reason alone. So if then X is gambling, he's saying, "Oh, I feel like I can beat Ozza in the final 3, so I don't have to worry about it." But what if he doesn't? What if he screws up? It's a trivia question. It always is. You can screw that up.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know. Like in these reality TV competitions, like if X feels he can beat Kylan in the final 2, no matter what, he should take Kylan.
Oh, I agree with you, but I think just the way, and like Dave and I said before, it could be just the way they edited the episode to make it look like for sure he's gonna, pressure whoever is going to have the final vote to get rid of Kylan, and then they're going to like swerve us and. He takes out Ozza.
Yeah.
Mary's just reminding us here too that Big D is smitten with Kylan, in love, perhaps, huge crush, and this is the conflict here. And if Xavier can read this correctly, he should, just say, "Okay, Ozza, you're coming down off the block. Big D, you're going up then, and now Ozza, you will vote to evict, and please take out Kylan." Otherwise,
she's not taking out Big D. So
who has a bigger crush, Ozza on Xavier or Big D on Kylan?
I think Big D on Kylan.
Big D on Kylan.
I think so too.
Because that was the other thing you missed tonight, Jeff. That Ozza and Xavier finally got to go on their date to watch a CSI Vegas. Which was great because Ozza is a CSI fan.
Yeah, and now they're bringing CSI Vegas back. That's something. They had food and had a blanket to cuddle underneath.
Pizzas and drinks and different things. They got to cuddle under the blanket and watch the CSI. Was like, "It's Vegas, girl." That was Xavier tonight. That was the thing Zingbot said would never happen. Was Ozza and Xavier going on a date? Guess what, Zingbot? You were
Hey.
wrong about that.
If a date's worth $750,000, I'd do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, the other thing, Jeff, you missed tonight too was Kyland was sniffing things in the kitchen.
Oh,
Like
jeez.
Xavier was telling us all about his sniffing fetishes with food. He gets like a piece of bread out of the bag, and he puts it up to his face, and he sniffs it like really, and he takes out tortillas, lots of tortillas.
Yeah,
It was all kinds
right
of things.
to his face,
Right.
like this. He presses it against his face and sniffs it.
And his lips.
Yeah, like it was crazy.
And then he put some of that food back.
He was pressing it like to his face, like
Yeah.
Right to his face and sniffing all over it, and then like turning it around like the tortillas. He sniffed both sides.
Sniffing it as in like right up to his nose, touching his nose, or just
right up pressed.
He was using his face as like his hand to detect the textures in like the food, and like
so he was using a tortilla like it was a Kleenex or like
a face cloth
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, exactly, over his whole face.
That's strange.
It was like, and he was sniffing everything. Like they showed like clips of him sniffing all this food, and that's why X said, "We got to get rid of this sniffer. You know, he's got to go."
He's kind of a strange man, Kyland. Like,
yeah.
like,
the more they show, you know, I want them to vote him off, and he's my pick.
Yeah, well, I wanted Hannah to go out too, and she was my pick. Like, I just had enough. I had enough of the mean girl comments in the DR. I thought I liked her in the house, but every time they showed her in the DR, I did not like the way she was portraying herself to the audience, and that's ultimately kind of how I have to judge you, because that's the only time I feel like you are 100% have a chance to be real with us. And you know, in the house, lie, do whatever you want. I'm watching you to do. You can. That you're playing a game, and I will forgive any lie or any personality quirk that you use within the house. But once you're in the DR, don't lie to me, and don't portray yourself to someone you're not. You know, and sometimes, like with some of these cast members this year, and Kyland is kind of the one that stands out the most to me.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I feel like he has like some built-in anger in him, but he's very Serenity Now, to quote Seinfeld. And Serenity Now is
Serenity Now, insanity later.
And I think you guys just mentioned the insanity. He's using tortillas as face cloths. I mean, that's some insane behavior.
Yeah.
Okay, because he gets into this big angry fight, like sniffing his side, and he's the sniffing bandit. Apparently, is what Xavier chooses to call him. But yeah, there's this whole Big D and Kyland talk where he was like, "What about our final two, Kyland?" He's like, "Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to get to final three, man." And he's like, "Well, you're not reassuring me," which is the same things that Kyland's complaining to Xavier about later on. It's kind of the same thing. And yeah, it's just by the end of it, it's like this massive confrontation between them where he's like, "I have to just walk away from you." Because it's one thing where I've been dragging you through this game. You don't deserve to be here, Big D. But you are here because I protected you, Xavier's protected you, Tiffany, others, and now you think you're like this great player, and he does have power. He is at one of the final four, and no matter even if you're the stupidest player, you have that power here. He potentially will decide between Ozzy and Kyland tomorrow night, and and he's unpredictable, right? So that they made a choice to bring him to this point too. When they could have kept like a more rational player, perhaps, or a more predictable player, like even Hannah, right? So it's interesting to see this go through. But like I guess this whole thing tonight was like the downfall of Kyland, from sniffing to sort of hissy fit to sniffing fit, maybe. He's not what's his name? Big D calls him. He thinks he's just a doctor scientist. Kyland.
Yeah. And Big D told him. He said, "Our deal is off.
Our deal's off, but I'm still thinking about keeping Kyland." He says at the end of this episode, and you're like, "What are you talking about, Big D? Like, you were so like Tiffany did a lot less to you, and you had way like less harsh words with Tiffany at sometimes, and you're like, he's just in love with Kylan. Kylan gave him that kiss, and he can't get over it.
Yeah.
He's hung up. Okay, and this whole thing with the competition, as I mentioned, was just it was a lot of fun for me. Like, even though it was math with balls, where you had to, like, some balls were worth 5 days and 10 days. And it was like, Jeff, what day was the fire on? When Ozza nearly burned down the house.
Oh
Yeah.
God. I mean, I guess like in Big Brother, like they must just like mental log everything, when you're in there, because you're so bored,
Yeah.
and there's no like, so you're just like, oh, that was day 41, and every day you're like, this is day 42, okay, day 42,
Yeah.
okay, this is what happened, remember, this is what happened on day 42, okay, moving on, next day, and then I don't know, that's what I would be doing if I was in the house.
Yeah. Like, I never know. I watch this pretty regularly. I'm not a live feeder so much, and so maybe they keep more track of those days. But I'm always like, yeah, they know when like a competition is. They're pretty good at memorizing that. But the fire thing wasn't like a Big Brother event so much, right? And so they can usually like narrow it down. I thought those were better questions, and I sometimes think that those would be more interesting things to do in these competitions where you have to know your days. Right, where it's not as obvious, maybe.
Yeah, it's not when somebody said this during a veto ceremony, or somebody
or
said
a specific veto. When was this veto competition? What day was this veto? This particular, like, when was OTAV?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and they used to like, before the pandemic, they used to like send celebrities in every now and again, and they'd be like, what day did Kathy Griffin show up, or whatever, and then that sort of stuff was a little bit. Also, I think they mental log all that stuff. I think, yeah, you're right. It's better that it's like the more spontaneous stuff that occurs amongst them within the house.
Well, yeah, and then of course, once you make that the thing, then they'll start paying attention to that kind of stuff too, right? Like the contestants will try to gamify it.
I mean, I just got off the Survivor podcast, guys, and I do think that the Big Brother needs to kind of do what Survivor's doing this season, and they kind of need to do a reset, and I think they are. I think Jamil said that this is probably the last season in this house. I think they need to kind of do some sort of a reset with competitions and vetoes and all sorts of different things to kind of change it up, because it feels like I could be watching season 10,
Yeah.
it's not much different.
They should put them on an island somewhere.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. But not even a house. Yeah, it's like they can go outside. If they're on an island. That'd be cool.
Like something in, I don't know how big Catalina Island is, but it's if they can have the Catalina wine mixer there, they can put these guys.
Right. As long as you can get cameras like everywhere, like that's, I guess that's the only thing. You have to not be able to escape from the cameras.
It's the fucking Catalina wine mixer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff. So I was listening to some of the Survivor feedback and podcast tonight, popping in on the commercials. Did you like tonight?
Yeah, there was a bunch I did like. There were some things I was confused. Probst, I don't know what's going on with Probst. I don't. I'm confused.
He's trying to turn over a new leaf. He's trying to become more woke and everything.
Right, so. And that's fine. I mean, this is the same man that was telling women to dig, and
you gotta dig.
You gotta dig. So I do think that he's starting to kind of realize maybe how he came across, and I think he's overcompensating a little bit too much. Like he started off tonight where he was like, "Should I do come on in, guys?" And then like Evie, who's a gay woman, was like, "No, it's fine, come on, guys, whatever." And then Ricard, who's a gay man with a transgender husband, was like, "No, I'm not cool with come on in, guys." And he's like, "You know what? That's the last come on in, guys." And I'm just like, so like, I don't know, like it seemed like, why didn't you just do it? Why are you asking people's opinions? Like, why don't you just do it?
Yeah.
And just I didn't understand any of that.
Because the monster is hungry. Sorry, that's wrong.
We're back, and the monster is hungry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like well, that was an interesting moment, and definitely something I'm going to remember for a long time on the show, because Nasir was like, "Come on in, guys, I love that line," and they're like, he's like, retired.
It always made me cringe anyway when he did it, because I'm like, you're outside, What do you mean? Come on in.
Come on out.
Yeah.
Should be come on out. Don't stay in. Come on out. Should be out. You know, I think that's the real thing. Yeah. So, but I thought I really like these three tribes. I really like the dynamic. I felt like I understood every new castaway tonight in Survivor. I know it was the Big Brother podcast, but you know, I thought that it was a great start for this show. You know, it's been a while since we've had Survivor. We had the Winners at War previously, and so this is a new, fast-paced. I like that they're not giving them as many comforts too. Took away the rice.
Yeah.
All those things are good. The one thing that I don't like is I do like, is that the pre-jury, they're getting rid of people pre-jury fast. Boom, 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 boom. Good. Perfect. Because the pre-jury is always boring. You never remember who went out when in the pre-jury because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter until they get to the jury. Really. There have been some good moments pre-jury. I shouldn't say that, but I can only think of a few. Like the Tyson blindside and Heroes Villains is like one of the best moments in Survivor history. That was pre-jury, but that was because that was All Stars.
That's because you already know the contestants too, right? In a returning season, I think that pre-jury stuff can be more interesting. We don't get any like Redemption Island or anything like that either here. It's just like you're gone. See you later.
Yeah, because it's only 26 days or something like that. So
yeah, just I guess 4 weeks, right? You're out there. But so I guess that's why that also led to the food thing. So as this connects to Big Brother, which tonight got bumped to 10 o'clock, and it's kind of crazy that Big Brother is it should be like going out. There should be like this crescendo to the season, where it's the final 2 weeks and like we're in the final four and anything can happen. And that's still kind of true. But it's almost like this is Xavier's game to lose. How is anybody going to defeat him? And does CBS even care about this season? It feels like, because they bumped the Sunday broadcast to Friday for the Emmys. It feels like Big Brother should have been over by now anyway. And like, what are they up to now? Right, they're up to 70 something days in the house now.
It's a long time. But I'd love to see him take Oz off the block, have her get rid of Kylan, and then have her like win the final veto.
Oh, me too.
And take Big D to the final two.
To win the game.
Yeah.
And it would be amazing to see her win the game. I think that would be cool, because this whole season's been telegraphed that either Kylan or Xavier is going to win.
Yeah.
And it would be so cool that Azza comes out of nowhere and just beats them at a couple of competitions, and then boom, they're gone. I would love that too, Darryl.
Do what you need to do.
Yeah. Especially with her, at the start saying, no showmances.
That was Xavier. He was Mr. Operation Nomance.
Operation Nomance.
But didn't she say no dick or something like that?
She said it was no penis. She nothing so crude.
No penis.
No.
Or where is it? I made one rule.
So made a rule in the house: no penis,
nothing except for cuddles and CSI Vegas.
Was it on the show tonight where Azza said, we all got here on our own? If anything, the cookout carried all of us. Saying you carried someone is just rude. Was that on the show tonight?
To Big D? Did she say that to Big D?
She said it to Xavier.
No, I don't think I saw that.
No, that wasn't on the show tonight. I don't even think we had an Xavier Ozza conversation, did we?
No, the only time they were together was when he picked her.
Because only the CSI. That was the only time those two were together tonight. But not much in strategy talk between those two.
She did say it to Xavier, but she said it to Xavier about Big D saying it to her.
Right. So she's complaining about Big D.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the thing about Big, isn't he the ultimate guy to sit next to at the end if you're Xavier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the jury will just be groaning and moaning at anything he says. Like they would have to be extraordinarily bitter to want to give him the money over Xavier.
Yeah, like there's no way he takes Oz at the final 2. Because
Not right, he wouldn't choose to. Now, if Ozza had the power, though, if somehow Ozza he goes into this final 3 and somehow Ozza is the final HOH, somehow, and would she take Big D to the final 2?
She might not. She's not super savvy of a game player. Let's face it, guys. Like she's a very straightforward person. If she takes Big D, it's based on loyalty, I think, not about because she knows she can beat him. Mary says that was on the show. It was at the beginning. I must have missed that. What you asked about earlier, Jeff. Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I think this is important because Xavier, if he does want to take out Kylan, yeah, he should definitely trust Ozza because he's trying to convince. It seems like he's trying to convince Big D that you're gonna have to blindside and blindside Kylan, and Big D is like not so cool with that. He kind of wants to, be upfront with Kylan if he's going to take him out, and Xavier doesn't want him to do that. It sounds like. Yeah, but wouldn't that be great if somehow Ozza is wins his final HO? If this happens and they get out Kylan tomorrow, and then Ozza has that option, and then all of a sudden she takes Big D to the end, and then those are the final 2, the 2 Jokers. I would think it was fantastic strategy from the Jokers to use the Cookout as a great shield. I mean, it would revolutionize, I think, Big Brother in a lot of ways. Because... if somehow they were we planned this whole thing. Yeah. We were going to antagonize the whole house, make them think we were idiots, make them think we had no agency, that we were going to make stupid moves and stupid deals and all kinds of things, and then we cut Xavier, the heir apparent to the throne himself, right at the right moment. It would be amazing.
I'd love to see that happen.
I would love to see it happen too. I have a hard time believing that I kind of see what people are saying where it's is Xavier really that good of a player? I mean,
do what you need to do.
Sorry, I kind of as much as it shouldn't be about competitions. Big Brother is competition shouldn't matter, but they put so much emphasis on it, and Kylan's won the most, yet he's not the front runner to win, but Xavier kind of has all his bases covered, but he's just as big a whiner in a lot of ways as Big D, but Big D gets all the hate because kind of rightfully so, because he goes way too far. But at the same time, I think Ozza has played a very BB8 type game, over 4. Sorry, where it's just loyalty, straightforward, kind of like they were making fun of a player on Survivor tonight. Oh, you don't tell somebody you want to vote them out or they're on the block right in front of their face, But Ozza is kind of like that kind of player. She's very old school, and sometimes old school becomes new school again. It all old becomes new, and I think that's kind of what might happen here if that occurs, where Ozza wins final 3.
I really like my boobs.
Lord X is the biggest whiner, says Mary Bass.
I just don't think he's a great player, as a Big Brother player. I think he's just gotten a lot of this game handed to him, and he's just won a few competitions here at the end, and it's just worked out for him. It's just been very serendipitous, I think, of gameplay for him. And so to act like any one of these 4 players is a clear front runner, it's why? Because he's the big strong man that had some good relationships. I don't get it. I just don't understand why he is clearly the best player. He's not, to me. Just because you win competitions, if it's just competitions, Kylan should win. But he sucks. And Xavier's the biggest whiner. Ozza really, I think, has the best case of being the least objectionable as far as best social game. You know what I mean?
She's been sleeping in that room. She sometimes doesn't even get up.
But nobody dislikes her. I
guess not, right? Nobody dislikes her, but did they want to give her the money?
Well, that's a whole other question, She is, if she makes it though, Dave, like the whole jury's women. So I mean, and not to bring up what Big D said, but like there is some truth to, I think sometimes women go, you know what, there is a woman I'm gonna vote for her because I like her, and Xavier pissed me off, or Big D pissed me off, and I don't want to vote for him.
Was Franzel our last woman winner?
KC, I think.
KC was number one, and that was 19. No, that was 20.
I think
so that's 3 years ago.
Another one of my picks to win.
I know, of course, Darryl. You've done very well in these drafts.
But I think even with X, if Azza can get rid of him, if get to the final 3 and then win, that's huge for her, for Jerry.
She wins if she can get to the final 3 and cut him, she wins for sure.
Yeah, she wins for sure. No one's voting for Big D.
Yeah.
Maybe Kylan would, but that'd be it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
but like you said, with all those women on jury and having her,
that would be that'd be a huge move. I think like if Big D did it too, there's a chance he could win, right? If somehow he won the final HOH, it's almost laughable. But if he somehow was the final HOH,
I don't think he would win. I think he would get people like Brittany's vote and stuff, but I still think
even if he cuts Xavier, even if he were to do that,
I don't think he's.
But if he cut Xavier and took Azza, I think Azza would still win.
I still think Azza wins, Dave, and this is the reason why. Because likability goes a long way, even more so in Big Brother than it does in Survivor. Because Survivor, you're with people with a much shorter period of time. Big Brother is a long stretch, and you really got to feel good about who you're going to give that money to. That's why Paul lost both times, I think, because people kind of just liked him.
Or like enough of the jury did, right? In both cases, or they didn't feel good about it. I think also because Paul maybe is like came from money too, or being well off.
That might have been part of it. Yeah.
And especially, if there was that choice of if it's Big D and Azza, the first African American woman to win this show, that's a huge thing. And you have all the women and even the men on the jury. They got to look at that and say, this is like something that's groundbreaking. That she, got along with the Cookout final 6, and then that's when she like turned up her game. She won that
HOH.
She won that double eviction HOH.
Yeah, and now if she can come through and win, the final HOH, that's worth it right there.
And maybe we'll look back at that. Like if that happens, maybe we'll look back at that HOH and go, you know what? Maybe it was kind of smart to get rid of Hannah, because then that left her as the sole female in the house, and all the guys, were eventually going to eat each other, and that's what looks like it's happening right now.
Effectively, yeah. Like Xavier's going to take out Kyland, even though Kyland would not have taken it out. And so just to I think it's worth updating you on what was kind of the finale of this episode after this veto competition, which, again, I was impressed. I was impressed with how Azza and Big D both did better than Kyland, and how he kept making excuses and things like that in all his sessions and whatever. Just kind of came across very bitter. And not a good sport about it. And then, he gets into the have-not room and he's just like, stupid, I'm so stupid. And he wanted to go sniff a tortilla. But before that could happen, Xavier came in and he's like, hey, listen, man, no veto talk today. I just want to chill. And he's like, well, that's not what I was looking to hear, Xavier, because, I think Kylan, having just taken Xavier off the block in the previous double eviction, wanted more reciprocation. I think he says it would be nice to get that reciprocated. And Xavier's like, shh, it's all good, man. We have a dialogue and it's all good. Nothing's changed. What do you worry about? He's like, I would like you to just tell me, like, make me feel good. And Xavier's like, well, it's all whatever. He says things to him, but
Kylan sees it coming.
Kylan sees it coming. He's like, this is how we used to treat people we were about to cut.
Exactly. Yeah. He knows he's gone.
Right. Mary Bass wants to see Big D take out, or Azza take out Big D, right? That would be funny to see happen for sure. But I don't think she will. She's got like a loyalty to him that, that it transcends logic in some ways.
But not just loyalty. I think that's not good for her game to take him out. because if
Why
she can,
keep Xavier? Like, so you had a chance to take out the big threat and you didn't? Like,
well, she has no chance to take out X, but she can get rid of Kylan and
this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more
No.
looking down to final
If she-
3, but
She takes out Kylan and X in back-to-back weeks.
oh,
Like she gets the vote. Like if she gets the vote and gets the vote of Kylan and then takes out X. I mean that's
Huge.
winning. That's a winning move.
yeah,
huge win and a huge upset. That would be exciting. Like, even though I have Xavier and I am anointed to win this year's draft, I think just like him, he's anointed to win those 750, unless it's actually going to be Jamil, who drafted Azza. Like, where did he take her? Azza went 12th overall in our draft.
That would be hilarious if Jamil wins this draft because he'd given up a long time ago on Ozzy.
There was that one year in the Survivor draft. He had the first, second, and third place draftees. Like, those were his 3 picks, and they all went top 3. Like,
I mean, that's hard to do, but
he did it somehow.
he did it.
yeah.
Okay. Well, is there Daryl? Do you know if there's anything in terms of spoilers that we would like? You said they hadn't even had the veto yet. So is there any like information that we?
I heard it's
want
going to be live tomorrow. So
the eviction's live.
well, no, the veto ceremony is going to be live.
Yeah, they always
okay.
They usually do it live because it's always a big moment, right? Like it's one person deciding another person's fate, which they love.
Well, yeah. So they don't want like that much time between when the veto is used or not used and when the eviction actually has to happen.
Yeah, and because the power of veto, it's going to be the 3-part thing. They're not going to get it all done. Like they'll start the first part, but they'll probably do something like some kind of competition that goes over into Paramount TV or Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus, right?
Yeah.
I guess it's into the live feeds and things like that with the part 1. I also heard there's a Friday episode this week.
Yeah. So maybe that'll be part 2.
So I was just on the show because I think this was actually earlier tonight at 7:00. But listen to this because I think this is telling you exactly what's going to happen. Xavier says, with him, talking about Kai, going, we definitely can't take her to the final 2 because if either one of us sit next to her, Azza, she gets all the votes. Big D says, no, she got all the votes. That is what's scary part, X. That is what is scary about taking her. And then Xavier says, but here is what I would say is the bright side of that. The difference with taking her over taking him is that we can beat her. I can beat him. I don't know if you can. Xavier Big D goes, right.
So it comes down to, can he trust Big D to take out Kylan?
I mean, I think X is getting a bit cute here, and he's risking $750,000. I think. I mean, which is strange. It's almost like a double. Like it's unless he doesn't believe Kylan will take him, which could happen. Kylan could take Big D, and he's the type of player that would lie to your face and then stab you in the back. He is that player.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I was X, I wouldn't trust Kylan either. I'd rather take my chances trying to beat Azza than worrying about whether or not Kylan will take me. So I get his logic, but he is getting cute. Because he's going to get the votes over Kylan,
I just think Big D is too much of an unstable element to trust. If you're Xavier, and Xavier is pretty good at reading people, and I think he understands what he can count on Big D to do and not do.
I don't think it's Big D that he needs to worry about. I think it's Kylan. I mean, in that final 3, if Kylan won the final 3 HOH.
Oh yeah, he's got to take out Kylan 100%.
Yeah.
I would be concerned if I was Xavier that he would just cut me and take Big D to the end. I'd be very concerned about that.
Yeah, that's why
he has to cut him.
He doesn't have to, because I mean, like Jamil would argue with us. I think he would say, Kylan, is taking X to the end, so you don't cut that person. And which is a fair argument.
Yeah.
But I still think he can. That is a good argument, but I still think he's got the chance to get rid of him.
Yeah.
He's the next strongest player of the.
Yeah.
In his mind, out of the final 4.
Yeah.
It's Xavier then Kylan. So if you can get rid of him, get rid of him.
Yeah.
So you need to have that.
Yeah. So like sometimes I feel like they should have wrapped up the show this week. You know.
Yeah.
It seems like to drag this. Okay, then we're gonna get a Thursday episode, and then a Friday episode, and then also a Sunday episode, and then the finale is next Wednesday.
It's too much.
Yeah. Like, what are they going to do in those 3 shows?
When there's like after tomorrow, there's only gonna be 3 people left,
Yeah.
and one of them is Xavier, who's
Well, maybe the Friday show they want to show everybody in the jury house.
I guess so. Yeah. I just think like I think that they ill-timed this. I don't think that I don't think that the season needs to be like 90 days for it to be good.
Yeah.
You know?
They don't need Friday and Sunday, and then Wednesday. You know.
No, I don't think
Cut
so.
one of those days out.
I saw what's his name, Andy Herron, the winner of 15. He was like, it's the worst at the end because you're around with these people, you have nothing to talk about anymore at all. You have nothing to say left to each other.
Right.
Mary's asking, I wonder how Kylan is going to feel to know that he made the decision. How is Kylan going to feel that he made the decision to get rid of Tiffany and Hannah? That was so. Is that all blood on Kylan's hands in terms of those 2 evictions?
Oh yeah, and because he saved Axe.
Yeah.
You know. And
so yeah, will he feel the fool for having saved X, and now X is going to basically be the architect of his destruction here?
Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah,
I mean, only 2 people can get to the end, and I don't think. I mean, Kylan was telling Tiffany, "I just believe you're the one I want to go to the end with." Like he was playing the game just as dirty, you know. So I think Kylan, you know, can shove it. To be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got a clip for that.
Kylan.
No,
Kylan.
shut the up, Kylan.
Even Zingbot told him to shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah, I got the Zingbot too.
Kylan! Oh no. Listening to you talk is like sitting by a brook. An endless babbling brook. Shut the up!
Everyone knows that Kylan babbles.
The more he talks, the less people understand what the hell he's saying.
You wonder what just happened here and how did 40 minutes go by?
He never shuts up.
That's Kylan there. I know it was a long one, but a goodie.
Can you isolate the
Oh yeah. I do have I have this one, but it's a quicker one.
I've been singing for over a decade now.
He's a vet. He's a vet. You know, he's in the twilight years of his career. The Zingbot. Okay, well, thanks for the. We're approaching. We just hit midnight here Eastern, so I think we've said all we need to say about tonight's episode. We're gonna wrap up, and we're gonna be back tomorrow 9:30 Eastern to talk about the eviction episode when we'll see if Kylan goes or not, or if something else happens. Where we're gonna find out. I think Kylan will go. It would just be about who does it, and then we'll get into maybe some jury segments and whatever else they're going to show us. Darryl, thanks for joining us tonight, and Jeff, thanks for coming in too. Come on in.
You guys notice anything in my background?
I noticed. Oh yeah, you got the cup there. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, no, we've all won that hockey trophy in different years in our hockey tournament up in Brantford, Ontario.
Not Jamil. Jamil has it.
Jamil, he's still chasing. He's still chasing a ring, but you know, it's maybe we'll have it one day. It's looking good. I was
Mallrats, a couple Mallrats.
I haven't seen. I used to see that like every year, at least once, and then I haven't seen it for almost 2 years now. So
it's
there it is.
There's the yoga hosers.
Oh yeah. Hey, and we should be like 2020 and 2021 goes to COVID-19.
It's been a couple. COVID won those years.
Champ. Yeah, absolutely. Nice look there. Nice backdrop. I really like some of that artwork you got going on there, Darryl.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. And Mary said, yeah, and Tiff and Hannah would have taken Kylan to final 3.
I was just thinking about that, what she said there, because okay, if I was Kylan, I was just thinking about like, yeah, maybe she's right. Maybe she should have. Maybe Kylan should have decided to go to final 3 with Tiff and Hannah and taking his chances and trying to beat them, and
Even knowing he was at the bottom of those final 3.
yeah, because I think he would have got to the final 3 because he would have won one of the first 2.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is, if he got to the end against Tiffany, which I don't think he would have beat her, I think, in the trivia. But I don't think he would have had a prayer in beating Hannah. And maybe he would have. He did beat her in one of the other competitions when it was trivia. But I would much rather go to the path of Xavier, Big D, and Azza than go to the path of Tiffany, Hannah. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you
me
know?
too. Yeah.
So
It was kind of like in retrospect, yes, I think he would have been better off, considering now that he's about to get cut by Xavier, who he thought was his ride or die. But he misread the situation clearly.
That was all bull. Like all these ride or die crap that he was doing, that was all nonsense, Dave. Like he was trying to do that with Tiffany right before. Like he was just trying to get somebody to trust him. So
Yeah.
he, and so like at the end of the day, like he didn't build a relationship with anyone good in the house except Sarah Beth, who he lied to incessantly. And so it was his own fault, his own demise. And I do not feel sorry for him.
Yeah. All right. No sympathy for Kylan. Okay, guys, we're going to sign off. Make sure to check out all our other shows. Super Mader Brothers Podcasting. We're covering Survivor right now. We did the draft last night in the cast preview, and Jeff and Jamil covered the premiere tonight as well. And check out our Marvel Cinematic Universe podcasts. And also check out our other channel called Live Long in Podcast, which is our Star Trek themed channel where we talk about Star Trek on Monday nights. We talk about Star Trek, the original series. Tuesday nights, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And often on now Thursdays, we've been talking about Star Trek Lower Decks, along with Davin Skellhorn from Locutors of Trek. And we also have our other channel called Trivial Debates, our monthly channel where we argue about movies, TV, sports, and more, which is coming up for this Sunday. We're going to be having his name is Chris Seymour. He's going to be hosting us. Chris Seymour hosting. We're going to have Max Duda, Davin Skellhorn, and Jessica Chang competing in our next iteration of Trivial Debates. They're going to be arguing all kinds of great things, like including what's the best movie musical and what 80s hair band did it the best, and all kinds of things. So check that out Sunday morning over on Trivial Debates. And I think that's it. And we'll bid you adieu tonight with maybe just what should we go out with, Jeff?
No penis.
No penis. I think that's a good one.
I think we did last week anyway, but
So made a rule in the house: no penis, nothing.